The chandelier was still swaying when McKenna realized she'd walked into a trap. Not the romantic kind. The dangerous kind. She stood in the center of Dorian Vale's private suite, silver tray trembling in her hands. The city glowed beyond the floor-to-ceiling windows. Distant. Uncaring. This room was forbidden territory. No maid ever entered without permission. Hi, viewers. Kindly tell us where you're watching from and what time it is. Warm welcome to the family. Enjoy the story. Dorian didn't look at the tray. He looked at her. You're in my room, he said. His voice was calm. Too calm. McKenna swallowed hard. I was told to bring, and you think I don't want you? The words landed like a punch. Her pulse spiked. This wasn't flirtation. It wasn't teasing. There was weight behind those words, something heavy, something loaded. She opened her mouth to respond. Then his phone lit up on the desk. One message. Security found the key. McKenna's breath caught. Dorian's eyes lifted slowly from the screen. They locked on hers. And in that moment, the air shifted. He stepped closer, slow, controlled, the kind of movement that made her want to run. Tell me something, McKenna, he said quietly. She couldn't move. Where did you hide it? Her heart slammed against her ribs. This wasn't about attraction. It wasn't about the uniform she wore or the way he looked at her. This was about the truth she'd stolen, the secret she'd been hunting for 12 years, the one thing that could destroy the Vale family. And he knew. Dorian stopped inches from her, close enough that she could see the tension in his jaw, the calculation in his eyes. I'm going to ask you one more time, he said softly. McKenna's fingers tightened on the tray. Where did you hide it? She didn't answer, because answering meant admitting she'd been lying since the day she walked through these doors. It meant admitting she wasn't just a maid. She was the daughter of the woman the Vales had silenced. And the key she'd stolen? It unlocked the room where her mother's truth was buried. Dorian reached out slowly. His hand closed around her wrist. Not rough, but firm. You have 5 seconds to tell me, he said, or I call security. And when they search you, McKenna, they won't be gentle. Her throat tightened. She looked him in the eyes. And for the first time since she arrived at this mansion, McKenna Carter made a choice that couldn't be undone. She smiled. Cold. Defiant. You think you scare me? She whispered. Dorian's grip tightened. Then you're more dangerous than I thought. The door behind them clicked. Locked. McKenna's heart dropped, because she'd walked in here thinking she was one step ahead. But Dorian Vale had been watching her all along. And now, there was no way out. McKenna had learned the rules of rich houses early. Don't ask questions. Don't linger. Don't look Mr. Vale in the eyes too long. And never, ever enter the East Wing after midnight. She followed every single one. Not because she was afraid of losing her job, but because she was afraid of being discovered. The uniform she wore wasn't just fabric. It was armor, hair pulled tight, face calm, movements silent. She memorized patterns others ignored, camera sweeps, guard shifts, locked doors that never opened, especially the East Wing. Behind that door was the reason she was here. Behind that door was her mother's truth. McKenna hadn't come to the Vale estate for money. She came because 12 years ago, her mother whispered 6 words that changed everything. If anything happens to me, don't trust the Vales. 1 week later, Althea was dead. The news said accident. McKenna remembered bruises and a small metal key sewn into her mother's jacket. That key was still with her, hidden, waiting. Tonight it finally fit a lock. Sometimes the only way to honor someone is to finish what they started. If you've ever carried someone's truth, you understand. McKenna wasn't supposed to be in this house. She was supposed to move on, forget. Let the past stay buried, But grief doesn't work that way. Not when your mother dies with fear in her eyes. Not when the last thing she does is press a key into your palm and beg you to remember. So Makina studied. She watched. She learned the rhythms of this mansion like a heartbeat. She knew which maids talked too much, which guards checked their phones at 11:47 p.m., which hallway cameras had blind spots, and she knew that tonight, for the first time in 3 months, the East Wing would be unguarded for exactly 4 minutes. 4 minutes to unlock a door. 4 minutes to find the truth her mother died protecting. 4 minutes to understand why a woman who never hurt anyone ended up cold on a bathroom floor with a story that didn't add up. Makina had replayed that night 1,000 times. Her mother's shaking hands, the way she kept looking over her shoulder, the way she said, "They'll come for me. And when they do, you run." But Makina didn't run. She stayed. And she planned. The key had been a mystery for years. Too small for a safe. Too old for a modern lock. Makina tried everything. Banks, storage units, old offices, nothing. Until 3 weeks ago. She'd been cleaning the library when she saw it. A door. Barely visible. Built into the paneling like it didn't exist. And the lock? It matched the key. Her breath had stopped. She'd waited. Watched. Learned the schedule. And tonight, the stars aligned. The guard stepped away at 11:43 p.m. The camera swept past at 11:45 p.m. At exactly 11:47 p.m., Makina moved. Silent. Focused. She slid the key into the lock. It turned. Smooth. Easy. Like it had been waiting for her. The door opened. Cold air rushed out. Inside was darkness. Metal cabinets. Files stacked in perfect rows. And one safe bolted into the wall. Her mother's birthday unlocked it. The door creaked open. Inside was a leather folder and a photograph. Makina's hands shook as she picked it up. It was her mother, standing beside a younger, Dorian Vale, close, familiar. Her mother's hand rested on his shoulder. Makina's chest tightened. She opened the folder and the world stopped. Confidential, adoption, record. Her name stared back at her. Makina Althea Carter. Then another line. Birth father, Gideon Vale. Makina staggered back. No, that wasn't possible. Gideon Vale was Dorian's father, the man her mother warned her about, the man who built an empire on secrets, and according to this paper, he was hers too. Makina's vision blurred. Her mother had lied. Or worse, she'd been protecting her. From what? From who? Makina's hands trembled as she flipped through the rest of the file. Legal documents, signatures, dates that didn't make sense. And then, a voice behind her. Calm, cold. Put that down. Makina's heart stopped. She turned slowly. Dorian Vale stood in the doorway, and for the first time since she'd met him, he looked afraid. Dorian Vale was not cruel. That surprised Makina. She'd been working at the estate for 2 months before she realized it. He never shouted, never humiliated staff, never touched what didn't belong to him. But something about him made the air tense when he entered a room. He watched everything. The way he stood with his back to walls. The way his jaw tightened when his father's name was mentioned. The way his eyes lingered on Makina like he was trying to remember something he'd lost. It made her nervous, because people who watch that closely see things others miss. And Makina had too much to hide. The first time he spoke to her directly, it froze her in place. She'd been dusting shelves in the library, quiet, invisible, the way she always was. Then his voice cut through the silence. "What's your name?" Makina turned slowly. Dorian stood near the window, hands in his pockets, expression unreadable. "Makina, sir," she said. He studied her, not the way men usually did, not with interest or attraction, with suspicion. "You don't blend," he said. Her chest tightened. "I try to." "That's not what I meant." His voice was quiet, measured. "You're hiding." Makina's pulse spiked. She forced herself to stay calm. "I don't know what you mean, sir." Dorian tilted his head slightly. "You memorize patterns, camera angles, guard schedules. You move like someone who doesn't want to be seen." Her throat went dry. How long had he been watching her? "I'm just doing my job," she said carefully. "No," Dorian replied. "You're doing something else." McKenna didn't answer. She couldn't. Because he was right. Dorian stepped closer, not threatening, just present. "Be careful in this house," he said quietly. The words landed like a warning, but was it a threat? Or protection? McKenna couldn't tell. She swallowed hard. "Why are you telling me this?" Dorian's eyes darkened. "Because people who dig too deep in this family don't come back up." Then he walked away. Left her standing there, heart pounding, mind racing. McKenna didn't move for a full minute. She replayed his words. His tone, the way he looked at her, he knew something. Or worse, he suspected something, and if Dorian Vale suspected her, it was only a matter of time before his father did too. Gideon Vale didn't give warnings. He eliminated problems. McKenna's mother had been a problem. And now, McKenna was walking the same path. She left the library with her hands shaking. That night, she couldn't sleep. She lay in her small room in the staff quarters staring at the ceiling. Dorian's words echoed. "You don't blend. You're hiding. Be careful." He was testing her, watching to see if she'd slip. And the worst part? She had no idea whose side he was on. Was he protecting the family, or was he protecting her? The next morning, McKenna saw him again. In the hallway. Early, before most of the staff woke up. He didn't say anything, just looked at her. And in that look, she saw it. Recognition. Like he'd figured out a puzzle he'd been working on for weeks. McKenna's stomach dropped. She kept walking, kept her face blank. But inside, she was screaming. Because Dorian Vale wasn't just suspicious anymore. He knew. Maybe not everything, but enough. Enough to be dangerous. Enough to destroy her. And as she turned the corner, she heard his voice one more time. Quiet, almost a whisper. "I know who you are." McKenna stopped. Her blood turned to ice. She didn't turn around, didn't look back. She just kept walking. Because if she stopped, if she faced him, she'd have to answer. And the truth would get her killed. Later that day, McKenna made a decision. She had to move faster. Tonight, the East Wing, the key, the truth. She couldn't wait anymore, because Dorian Vale was already suspicious, and suspicion was deadly in this house. 3 months before she arrived at the estate, a package appeared at McKenna's door. No return address, no explanation, just a small box wrapped in brown paper. Inside was a flash drive, and a note. East Wing, safe, midnight. McKenna's hands had shaken as she plugged it into her laptop. The screen flickered. Then her mother's face filled the frame. Alive, calm, determined. McKenna's breath caught. "If you're seeing this," Althea said, "they silenced me." The words hit like a punch. McKenna's vision blurred. Her mother continued. "Vale Industries was built on theft. The proof is hidden. And McKenna, you are the reason they're afraid." McKenna's knees gave out. She collapsed onto the floor. Her mother's voice kept going. "You have the key. Use it. Be smarter than men who believe they own the world." The screen went black. McKenna didn't cry. She couldn't. The grief was too deep for tears. Instead, she replayed the video. Again. And again. Listening to her mother's voice. Trying to understand. You are the reason they're afraid. What did that mean? Why would anyone fear her? She was nobody. A girl who grew up in a one-bedroom apartment. A girl whose mother worked 3 jobs just to keep the lights on. A girl who never asked questions because questions led to pain. But now she had answers to find. Imagine finding out the person who raised you died protecting something you never knew existed. Would you walk away? Or would you risk everything? McKenna didn't walk away. She planned. She studied the Vale estate online. Floor plans, security systems, staff schedules. She applied for the maid position under a different last name. She waited. And 3 months later, she was inside, living in the house that killed her mother, sleeping under the same roof as the people who silenced her. Every day was torture, every smile she faked, every "yes, sir" she forced out. Every time she saw Gideon Vale's face and had to pretend she didn't know, but she waited. Because revenge wasn't about anger, it was about timing, and tonight, the timing was perfect. The guard left his post at 11:43 p.m. The camera swept past at 11:45 p.m. At exactly 11:47 p.m., McKenna moved, silent, focused. Her mother's voice echoed in her head. Be smarter than men who believe they own the world. McKenna reached the east wing. The hallway was dark, cold, forbidden. She'd never been this far before. No one had. The door loomed ahead, tall, heavy, locked for years. McKenna pulled out the key, her mother's key, the one she'd carried for 12 years, the one she'd sewn into the lining of every jacket she owned, the one that promised answers. She slid it into the lock. It fit. Perfectly. McKenna's heart pounded. She turned the key. The lock clicked. The door opened. Cold air rushed out. Inside was darkness. McKenna stepped forward. The room smelled like old paper and metal. Cabinets lined the walls, files stacked in perfect rows, and in the center, a safe, bolted into the wall. McKenna approached slowly. Her fingers trembled as she entered her mother's birthday. The safe beeped. The door creaked open. Inside was a leather folder and a photograph. McKenna picked it up. Her breath vanished. It was her mother, standing beside a younger Dorian Vale. Close, familiar. Her mother's hand rested on his shoulder, like they knew each other, like they trusted each other. McKenna's chest tightened. She opened the folder, and the world shattered. Confidential, adoption, record. Her name stared back at her, McKenna Althea Carter. Then another line. Birth father, Gideon Vale. McKenna staggered. No, that wasn't possible. Gideon Vale was Dorian's father, the man who built an empire on lies, the man her mother warned her about. And according to this paper, he was hers too. McKenna's hands shook. Her vision blurred. Her entire life was a lie. Her mother had kept this from her, hidden it, protected her from it. But why? What was so dangerous about the truth that her mother had to die keeping it? McKenna flipped through the rest of the file. Legal documents, signatures, dates that didn't add up. And then, footsteps, slow, deliberate, coming closer. McKenna froze. Her heart slammed against her ribs. She turned, and there, filling the doorway, stood Dorian Vale. His eyes, locked on the folder in her hands, and for the first time since she'd met him, he looked afraid. At exactly 12:07 a.m., the world McKenna knew ended. The safe door hung open. The photograph trembled in her hands. Her mother, young, smiling, standing beside a teenage Dorian Vale like they were family, and beneath it, the words that destroyed everything. Birth father, Gideon Vale. McKenna's knees buckled. She gripped the edge of the safe to keep from falling. This couldn't be real. Her mother had raised her alone. No father, no family, just the two of them against the world. And now this paper was telling her that the man who built an empire on lies was her father? McKenna's chest heaved. She flipped through the rest of the folder with shaking hands. Medical records, DNA results, legal documents stamped confidential. All of it pointed to the same truth. Gideon Vale was her biological father, which meant Dorian. McKenna's stomach turned. Dorian was her half-brother. The air left her lungs. She staggered back. Her mind raced through every interaction, every look, every word, the way Dorian watched her, the way he warned her. Did he know? Had he known this whole time? McKenna's hands clenched into fists. Her mother had lied to her, for 12 years. 12 years of wondering why they lived the way they did, why they moved so often, why her mother looked over her shoulder like someone was always watching. And now McKenna understood. They were running. From Gideon Vale. From the truth. from a family that would rather bury secrets than face them. Makina's throat tightened. She wanted to scream, she wanted to cry, but she couldn't. Not here, not now. She stuffed the folder under her arm and turned toward the door. That's when she heard it. A soft click. The door. Locking. Makina's blood ran cold. She spun around and froze. Dorian Vale stood in the doorway, blocking her only exit. His eyes moved from her face to the folder in her hands, then back to her face. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. The silence was suffocating. Then Dorian's voice cut through the darkness, quiet, controlled. "Put that down." Makina's grip tightened. "You knew." It wasn't a question. Dorian didn't deny it. "Put it down, Makina." Her voice cracked. "You knew who I was, this whole time." "Yes." The word landed like a slap. Makina's chest burned. "And you let me walk around this house like a fool. I kept you alive," Dorian said sharply. Makina laughed. It was harsh, bitter. "You kept me invisible," she spat, "like my mother." Dorian's jaw tightened. "Your mother was trying to protect you." "From what?" Makina demanded. "From the truth? From my own blood?" "From him," Dorian said. The words hung heavy in the air. Makina's hands shook. "Gideon." Dorian nodded slowly. "He can't know you exist. If he finds out, he'll kill me," Makina finished. Dorian didn't deny it. Makina's vision blurred. Her entire life had been built on a lie, and now she was standing in the middle of it, trapped, with nowhere to go. "Why didn't you tell me?" she whispered. Dorian's expression softened, just slightly. "Because telling you would have put you in more danger." Makina shook her head. "I had a right to know." "You had a right to live," Dorian shot back. Silence. Makina stared at him, this man who looked at her like she mattered, this man who was her half-brother, this man who had been protecting her without her even knowing. "What do I do now?" she asked quietly. Dorian stepped closer. Slow, deliberate. "You trust me," he said. Makina's throat tightened. "Why should I?" "Because I'm the only person in this house who wants you to survive." Before Makina could respond, footsteps echoed down the hall, heavy, familiar. Dorian's face went pale. "Hide," he whispered urgently. Makina's heart slammed. "What? Now." He shoved her toward the far corner, behind a filing cabinet. Out of sight. Makina pressed herself into the shadows. Her pulse roared in her ears. The footsteps grew louder, closer. Then a voice. Deep, cold, unmistakable. Dorian. Gideon Vale. Makina's blood turned to ice, because the man who had silenced her mother, the man whose blood ran through her veins, was standing 10 feet away, and if he found her here, with that folder, she was dead. Makina pressed herself deeper into the shadows. Her breathing was too loud, too fast. Gideon's footsteps stopped just outside the door. Dorian stood frozen in the doorway, calm, but his knuckles were white. "Father," Dorian said evenly, "what are you doing in here?" Gideon's voice was cold, suspicious. Dorian didn't flinch. "I heard something. Thought someone broke in." Silence. Makina held her breath. "And did they?" Gideon asked. "No," Dorian said. False alarm. Another pause. Too long. Makina's heart pounded so hard she thought it would give her away. Then Gideon spoke again. "Lock it when you leave." Footsteps retreated. Slow, deliberate. Makina didn't move until the sound faded completely. Then she gasped for air. Dorian turned back to her. His face was pale. "He's gone," he said quietly. Makina stepped out from behind the cabinet. Her legs were shaking. "He almost found me," she whispered. "But he didn't," Dorian said, "because I told you to hide." Makina stared at him. "Why are you protecting me?" Dorian's jaw tightened. "Because your mother saved my life." The words hit her like a freight train. "What?" Dorian looked away. When I was 17, I found out what my father was, what he'd done, the people he'd destroyed. I threatened to expose him. He paused. He tried to kill me. McKenna's breath caught. Your mother was working here then, Dorian continued. She found me, bleeding out in this very room. She hid me, got me medical help, and then she hid the proof I'd gathered. McKenna's throat tightened. She saved you, she whispered. Dorian nodded. And she hid you. Because my father found out she knew too much. He threatened her, told her if she ever came back, he'd kill her. McKenna's chest ached. But she came back anyway, McKenna said. Dorian's voice was rough. She came back for the documents, to finish what we started, and he didn't finish. He didn't have to. McKenna's hands curled into fists. He killed her. Yes. The word was final, heavy, true. McKenna's vision blurred. And you knew this whole time. I knew, Dorian admitted, and I've been waiting, planning, trying to find a way to take him down without getting you killed in the process. McKenna looked at the folder in her hands. So you made me invisible. I made you safe, Dorian corrected. McKenna shook her head. You don't get to decide that for me. Dorian's eyes softened. I know. Some people protect you by hiding you. Others protect you by trusting you to fight. Which kind of love would you choose? McKenna took a breath. Then she looked Dorian in the eyes. I didn't come here to be saved, she said. I came to finish what my mother started. Dorian studied her. For a long moment he said nothing. Then he nodded. Then we fight together. The words settled between them. Not a promise, an alliance. McKenna exhaled. What do we do now? Dorian glanced at the folder. We use that. The adoption papers, the DNA results, the proof that my father stole ownership from your mother's family line. McKenna's eyes widened. Wait. What? Dorian's expression hardened. You're not just his daughter, McKenna. You're the rightful heir to half this empire. McKenna staggered. That's why he wanted you erased, Dorian said. Because if the board finds out you exist, everything he built crumbles. McKenna's mind raced. She wasn't just a maid. She wasn't just a daughter. She was a threat to everything Gideon Vale had. So what's the plan? She asked. Dorian's jaw set. We expose him at the board meeting, in front of everyone. McKenna's pulse quickened. And if he tries to stop us? He will, Dorian said grimly. That's why we have to be smarter, faster. McKenna nodded. For the first time since she arrived, she felt like she wasn't alone, like someone finally believed her, trusted her, saw her. But then, footsteps again, this time closer, faster. Dorian's face went hard. Go, he hissed. What, now? He shoved the folder into her hands and pushed her toward a side door she hadn't noticed. McKenna stumbled through. The door clicked shut behind her. She was in a narrow hallway, dark, cold, and behind her she heard voices. Gideon's voice, loud, angry. I know someone was in there. McKenna's blood turned to ice. Because Gideon Vale wasn't leaving, he was searching, and if he found that folder missing, if he found her, everything Dorian had done to protect her would be for nothing. McKenna ran. McKenna didn't stop running until she reached Dorian's private office. He'd told her to meet him there if anything went wrong. And everything had gone wrong. She slipped inside, locked the door. Her hands were still shaking. 5 minutes later, Dorian appeared. He looked calm, but his eyes told a different story. He's suspicious, Dorian said quietly. McKenna's chest tightened. Does he know it was me? Not yet, Dorian replied. But he will if we don't move fast. He crossed the room and pulled out a second folder from his desk drawer, thicker than the first. He dropped it in front of her. Read, he said. McKenna opened it. Her breath caught. Documents. Contracts, legal filings, all of them dated decades ago, and every single one had been altered, signatures forged, ownership transferred illegally. "This is Vale Industries," Dorian said. "The real story." Makina's eyes scanned the pages. Her mother's family name appeared again and again. Carter Holdings, a company that no longer existed. "Your mother's family owned half this empire," Dorian explained. "They were partners with my grandfather. Equal stake, equal power." Makina looked up. "What happened?" Dorian's jaw tightened. "My father happened. He forged documents, framed your grandfather for fraud, had him arrested, and while your family was destroyed, he took everything." Makina's hands clenched. "My mother found out," Dorian continued. "She tried to expose him. He silenced her too." Makina's throat burned. "And your mother," Dorian said quietly, "found the proof. She was going to take it public. That's why he killed her." Makina's vision blurred. Her entire family had been erased, not by accident, by design. "So why didn't you give it back?" Makina demanded. "You had the proof. You could have—" "I couldn't," Dorian cut her off. "Because the moment I moved, my father would have known, and he would have found you and killed you." Makina's chest heaved. "You were safe or invisible," Dorian said, "until now." Makina stared at the papers. Her name was listed. Right there. Makina Althea Carter, beneficiary, 50% ownership. She wasn't just a maid. She wasn't just his daughter. She was an heiress to billions. "I don't want his money," Makina said. "It's not his," Dorian replied. "It's yours. It always was." Makina's hands trembled. She looked at Dorian. "So what now?" Dorian's expression hardened. "Now we take it back." At the emergency board meeting, in front of everyone, Makina swallowed. "And if he tries to stop us—" "He will," Dorian said. "That's why we have to be ready." Makina nodded. Then Dorian's phone buzzed. He glanced at the screen. His face went pale. "What?" Makina asked. Dorian didn't answer. He turned the phone toward her. One message. From security. Safe in East Wing was opened. Files missing. Makina's stomach dropped. "He knows," she whispered. Dorian's jaw set. "Yes. What do we do?" Dorian locked eyes with her. "We move faster." But before Makina could respond, footsteps echoed in the hallway. Heavy, purposeful. Dorian's hand shot out. He grabbed Makina's wrist. "Stay quiet," he whispered. The footsteps stopped. Right outside the door. A knock. 3 times. Slow, deliberate. Then Gideon's voice. Calm, cold. "Dorian, open the door." Makina's heart slammed. Dorian didn't move. "I know she's in there," Gideon continued. Makina's blood turned to ice. "Open the door," Gideon said again, "or I'll have security break it down." Dorian's grip on her wrist tightened. He looked at Makina, and in his eyes she saw something she hadn't seen before. Fear. Real fear. Because Gideon Vale wasn't bluffing. He knew. And if that door opened, Makina was dead. Dorian pulled Makina away from the door. Fast. Silent. He pressed a finger to his lips, then pointed to a hidden panel in the wall. A passage. Makina's eyes widened. Dorian pushed it open and shoved her inside. He followed. The panel clicked shut just as the office door burst open. Makina held her breath. Through a crack in the wall, she could see Gideon enter. His eyes swept the room, calculating, predatory. "I know you're protecting her," Gideon said to the empty room. Then he turned and left. Makina's legs nearly gave out. Dorian grabbed her arm to steady her. "Come on," he whispered. They moved through the narrow passage. It led to a wine cellar beneath the estate. Cold, dark, safe. For now. Dorian flipped on a dim light. Makina leaned against the wall, gasping. "He almost found us," she breathed. "But he didn't," Dorian said. Makina looked at him. How long can we keep running? Dorian hesitated. Then he reached into his pocket. He pulled out a small object, a necklace. Gold, star-shaped. McKenna's breath caught. She knew that necklace. She owned the exact same one. Her mother had given it to her when she was 8, told her to never take it off. McKenna's hand went to her throat. The matching necklace was still there, hidden under her uniform. "Where did you get that?" she whispered. Dorian's voice was quiet. "My mother gave it to me. Before she died." McKenna's chest tightened. "She told me to keep it safe," Dorian continued. "That one day someone would come looking for its match." McKenna pulled her necklace out, held it up. The two pendants were identical, perfectly matched. "What does this mean?" McKenna asked. Dorian's expression was grim. "It means Gideon isn't your father." McKenna froze. "What?" Dorian exhaled slowly. "The adoption papers were forged. Gideon wanted the world to think you were his, to control the narrative. But the blood in your veins belongs to my mother." McKenna staggered. "Your mother and mine," Dorian said carefully, "were connected. Not by Gideon. By something deeper." McKenna's mind spun. "So who am I?" she whispered. Dorian met her eyes. "You're the daughter of the woman Gideon tried to erase. The heir he couldn't eliminate. The truth he's been running from for 20 years. Have you ever questioned who you really are? Not who you were told to be, but who you were meant to become. Some truths change everything." McKenna's throat burned. Her entire identity was unraveling. "Why would he lie about being my father?" she asked. "Because it gave him legal claim to your inheritance," Dorian said. "If you're his daughter, he controls your stake in the company, but if the truth comes out that you're not his blood, he loses everything." McKenna's hands shook. "So, I'm not his daughter," she repeated. "No," Dorian confirmed. "You're something worse." "What?" Dorian's voice dropped. "You're the last thing my father can't control." The words settled over her like a weight. McKenna looked down at the necklace in her hand. This small piece of gold had tied her to a woman she never knew, a woman who died protecting a secret, a woman whose blood ran through her veins. "Who was she?" McKenna asked. "Your mother." Dorian's jaw tightened. "A woman who loved the wrong man, and paid for it with her life." Before McKenna could respond, a sound echoed above them. Footsteps, heavy, multiple. Gideon's voice rose through the house, loud, furious. "Search every room. I know she's here." McKenna's blood ran cold. Dorian grabbed her shoulders. "Listen to me," he said urgently. "He's not going to stop. Not until he finds you. Not until he silences you the way he silenced everyone else." McKenna's chest heaved. "What do we do?" Dorian's eyes burned with determination. "We don't run anymore." "Then what?" "We fight," Dorian said. "But first, you need to know the full truth." McKenna's heart pounded. "What truth?" Dorian pulled out his phone. He opened a file, a video. He handed it to her. "Watch this," he said, "and then you'll understand why Gideon Vale is so desperate to keep you silent." McKenna's hands trembled as she pressed play. The screen lit up, and there, staring back at her, was a face she'd only seen in photographs. Dorian's mother, alive, speaking directly to the camera. "If you're watching this," she said, "then I'm already dead, and you're the only one left who can stop him." McKenna's throat closed. The woman continued. "My name is Elna Vale, and I am not Dorian's biological mother. I am yours." The world stopped. McKenna couldn't breathe, couldn't move, couldn't process what she was hearing. Elna's voice was steady. "Gideon stole you from me the day you were born. He told me you died, and for 20 years, I believed him." Tears blurred McKenna's vision. "But Althea found you," Elena continued. "She protected you, raised you, and when Gideon discovered the truth, he killed her to keep you hidden." McKenna's chest shattered. You are my daughter, Elena said, and you are the rightful heir to everything Gideon has built. Don't let him win. The video ended. Makina collapsed to her knees, sobbing, because the woman who raised her wasn't her mother, and the woman who gave birth to her was dead, and the man who destroyed them both was still alive, still hunting her, still determined to erase her existence. Dorian knelt beside her. I'm sorry, he whispered. Makina looked up at him through tears. We're not half-siblings, she said. No, Dorian confirmed. We're not blood at all. Makina's breath hitched, because that changed everything. Above them, Gideon's voice roared again. Find her! And Makina knew. Time was up. Makina wiped her face, stood. Her legs were shaking, but she locked her knees. Dorian watched her carefully. We can still run, he said. There's a car, passports, money. We disappear tonight and never come back. Makina looked at him, then at the necklace in her hand, the one her real mother had meant for her, the one that connected her to a woman she'd never meet, a woman who died believing her daughter was gone. No, Makina said. Her voice was steady, stronger than she felt. I'm not running. Dorian's jaw tightened. Makina, if we stay, I know, she cut him off, but running means he wins, and I didn't come this far to let that happen. Dorian studied her. Then he nodded slowly. Okay, he said. Then we fight. Above them, a door slammed. Gideon's voice echoed through the mansion. Check the wine cellar. Makina's pulse spiked. He knows where we are, she whispered. Dorian moved fast. He grabbed her hand. Listen to me, he said urgently. Whatever happens up there, don't believe anything my father tells you. He'll twist the truth, make you doubt yourself, make you doubt me. Makina's chest tightened. Why would I believe him? Because he's good at this, Dorian said. He's spent his whole life manipulating people, and if he senses weakness, he'll use it. Makina swallowed hard. So, what do I do? Dorian's grip on her hand tightened. You remember who you are, not the maid, not the girl he tried to erase. You're Elena Vale's daughter, and you have every right to be here. Makina's throat burned. Footsteps pounded overhead, getting closer. Dorian pulled her toward the cellar stairs. Stay behind me, he said. No, Makina replied. Dorian turned. What? I'm not hiding anymore, Makina said. If we're doing this, we do it together. Dorian's expression softened, just for a moment. Then he nodded. They climbed the stairs, side by side. The door at the top was locked from the outside. Dorian reached for the handle. Before he could turn it, it flew open. 3 security guards filled the doorway. Behind them stood Gideon Vale, calm, composed, smiling. There you are, Gideon said pleasantly, like they were old friends. Makina's skin crawled. Gideon's eyes moved from Dorian to Makina, lingered there. So this is her, he said softly. The girl who's been causing so much trouble. Makina lifted her chin. My name is Makina Carter. Gideon's smile widened. Oh, I know exactly who you are. He stepped closer. The guards moved with him. Dorian shifted, putting himself slightly in front of Makina. Gideon noticed. Still playing hero, Dorian? He asked mockingly. You never learn. She's not going anywhere with you, Dorian said. Gideon chuckled. That's not your decision to make. He looked at Makina again. Come with me, dear. We have so much to discuss. Makina's heart pounded, but she didn't move. I'm not going anywhere with you, she said. Gideon's smile faded. I wasn't asking. He nodded to the guards. They stepped forward. Dorian moved, fast. He shoved one guard back, but the other 2 grabbed him, pinned his arms. Dorian, Makina shouted. She lunged forward, but Gideon caught her wrist. His grip was iron. Enough, Gideon said coldly. He pulled Makina close, too close. His voice dropped to a whisper only she could hear. You think you know the truth? You don't know anything. Makina's breath hitched. Your precious Althea, Gideon continued. She wasn't protecting you. She was using you, and when I found out, I ended her. McKenna's vision blurred with rage. You're lying. Am I? Gideon's eyes glinted. Ask yourself why she never told you who you really were, why she let you grow up thinking you were nobody. McKenna's chest heaved. Because she loved me. Gideon laughed, cold, cruel. She loved the leverage you gave her, nothing more. Don't listen to him, Dorian shouted. Gideon ignored him. Come quietly, he said to McKenna, and I'll let Dorian live. Fight me, and I'll make sure he disappears tonight. McKenna's heart stopped. She looked at Dorian. He was struggling against the guards. Blood dripped from his lip. Don't do it, Dorian said. McKenna, don't. One of the guards hit him, hard. Dorian's head snapped back. McKenna screamed. Gideon's grip tightened. Choose, he said. Him or the truth. You can't have both. McKenna's mind raced. Every instinct screamed at her to fight, to run, to do anything but give in. But Dorian's life was in her hands, and she couldn't let him die for her. McKenna closed her eyes, took a breath, then looked Gideon in the face. I'll go with you. Dorian's voice broke. No. But, McKenna continued, you let him go. Now. Gideon studied her, then smiled. Deal. He nodded to the guards. They released Dorian. He stumbled forward. McKenna, don't do this. I have to, she said quietly. Their eyes met. And in that moment, McKenna made a choice. Not to give up, but to survive. Long enough to finish what her mother started. Gideon pulled her toward the door. McKenna didn't resist. But as she passed Dorian, she whispered 2 words. Trust me. Then she was gone. Dragged into the darkness, and Dorian was left standing in the hallway, bleeding, broken, watching the only person he'd sworn to protect disappear into the hands of the man who'd destroyed them all. The chandelier swayed. The present crashed back into place. McKenna stood in Dorian's suite, heart pounding, mind spinning. Everything that had happened flashed through her in seconds. The lies, the truth, the blood that wasn't blood, the mother who wasn't her mother, and the man standing in front of her now, Dorian, not her brother, not her enemy, something else entirely. He watched her with those same eyes that had been tracking her since the day she arrived. You're in my room, he said softly. His voice was different now, weighted with everything unspoken. McKenna swallowed hard. I know. And you think I don't want you? The words hung between them. Not a question. A statement. McKenna's breath hitched. This isn't about that, she said. Isn't it? Dorian stepped closer, slow, deliberate. The air shifted. We've spent months pretending, he continued. Pretending you're just a maid. Pretending I don't notice every time you walk into a room. Pretending this doesn't exist. McKenna's chest tightened. Dorian, I look at you, he interrupted. Like I might lose you. The confession hit her like a wave. McKenna's throat burned. You almost did lose me, she whispered. Multiple times. I know, Dorian said, and every single time it felt like I was losing something I didn't even know I needed. McKenna's hands trembled. She looked away. We can't do this, she said. Not now. Not with everything. When then? Dorian asked. After we destroy my father? After you claim what's yours? After we're both too broken to feel anything? McKenna's vision blurred. Sometimes the hardest thing isn't fighting for something. It's admitting you're afraid to lose it. If you've ever felt that fear, you'll know this moment. I'm scared, McKenna admitted. Her voice cracked. I'm scared that if I let myself feel this, I'll lose focus. I'll forget why I'm here. You won't, Dorian said firmly. He reached out, took her hand. You're the strongest person I've ever met, McKenna. You survived everything my father threw at you. You didn't break. You didn't run. McKenna's chest heaved. But what if I'm not strong enough for this? She whispered. For us. Dorian's grip tightened. Then we figure it out together. Makina looked up at him. Their eyes locked, and for the first time since this nightmare began, she let herself feel it. The pull, the connection. The thing she'd been fighting since the moment she realized Dorian wasn't her enemy. I don't know how to do this, she said quietly. Neither do I, Dorian replied. But I know I don't want to lose you. Makina's breath caught. Dorian stepped closer, so close she could feel the heat radiating off him. Tell me you feel it too, he said. Makina's heart slammed. A voice cut through the moment, loud, furious, echoing through the entire mansion. Makina Carter. Gideon. Makina's blood turned to ice. Dorian's jaw clenched. He knows your real name, Dorian said grimly. Makina's stomach dropped. How? Doesn't matter, Dorian said. What matters is what we do next. Gideon's voice boomed again. You have 1 hour to present yourself, or I will hunt you down like the parasite you are. Makina's hand shook. Dorian turned to her. This is it, he said. The moment we've been preparing for. Makina nodded, but her throat was tight. What if he wins? She asked. Dorian's eyes burned with determination. He won't. Because this time you're not alone. Makina exhaled shakily, then straightened her spine. She wasn't a maid anymore. She wasn't invisible. She was Elena Vale's daughter, the rightful heir to half an empire. And she was done hiding. Let's go, Makina said. Dorian nodded. He moved toward the door, but Makina grabbed his arm. He turned back. Whatever happens, she said, thank you. For believing me. For protecting me. Dorian's expression softened. I didn't protect you, Makina. You protected yourself. He opened the door, and together they stepped into the hallway. The mansion was dark, silent. Every staff member had been dismissed, every camera turned off. This was between them and Gideon now. They descended the grand staircase, slow, deliberate. At the bottom stood Gideon Vale, arms crossed, smile cold. And behind him, a dozen men in black suits, security, lawyers, enforcers. Makina's heart pounded, but she didn't stop. She walked down those stairs like she owned them. Because she did. Gideon's smile widened as she approached. There she is, he said, the ghost that refuses to stay buried. Makina stopped 5 feet from him, lifted her chin. I'm not a ghost, she said. I'm your worst nightmare. Gideon laughed. Bold words for a girl with nothing. Makina reached into her jacket, pulled out the folder, the one with all the proof. I have everything, she said, and then she threw it at his feet. Gideon's smile vanished. He looked down, saw the documents, the DNA results, the adoption records, the video files. His face went pale. Where did you get this? He hissed. Makina smiled. Cold, victorious. From the woman you tried to erase. Gideon's eyes flashed with rage. He lunged forward, but Dorian stepped between them. Touch her, Dorian said quietly. And I'll make sure you never touch anyone again. Gideon stopped. For the first time, Makina saw it. Fear, real fear. Because Gideon Vale had spent his entire life controlling the narrative. And now, the truth was out, and there was nothing he could do to stop it. Gideon didn't shout. He never needed to. He stepped forward with the calm of a man who owned everything in the room, including fear. His silver hair was perfect, his suit pristine, his smile cold enough to freeze blood. He looked at the scattered documents at his feet, then at Makina. So, he said softly, this is her. Makina felt Dorian stiffen beside her. Gideon's eyes traveled slowly over her face, studying, calculating. You look like your mother, he said. The words were gentle, but the threat underneath wasn't. She had the same defiance, Gideon continued. that fire in her eyes, that stubborn belief that truth mattered. He paused, smiled. It didn't save her. McKenna's fists clenched. You killed her. I ended a problem, Gideon corrected calmly. There's a difference. Dorian stepped forward. That's enough. Gideon raised a hand. The security guards moved, surrounded Dorian, not touching him, just close enough to make the threat clear. Gideon's attention never left McKenna. You've been lied to, he said, by everyone. Althea, Dorian, even Elena. McKenna's chest tightened. Don't listen to him, Dorian said through gritted teeth. Gideon ignored him. They filled your head with stories, he continued, made me the villain. But ask yourself, McKenna, who's been honest with you? McKenna's throat burned. You stole everything from my family. I built an empire, Gideon replied. From nothing. Your grandfather was weak. He would have destroyed everything we worked for. So you destroyed him instead, Gideon shrugged. Business is war, and in war only the strong survive. He stepped closer. Too close. McKenna forced herself not to back away. You think Dorian cares about you? Gideon asked softly. He's using you, just like he's used everyone else. That's a lie, Dorian snarled. Gideon's smile widened. Is it? Tell her, Dorian. Tell her why you really kept her identity secret. Dorian's jaw clenched. Gideon turned back to McKenna. He kept you hidden, because the moment you surfaced, his claim to this empire weakened. You're not just an heir, McKenna. You're the majority shareholder. McKenna's breath caught. What? Elena's blood gives you 51%, Gideon said. Dorian only has 30%. And me? I have nothing. Not by blood anyway. McKenna's mind spun. So all this time, he was protecting his interests, Gideon finished. Not you. Don't believe him, Dorian said desperately. He's twisting everything. Am I? Gideon asked. Then explain to her why you never told her the full truth, why you let her play Maid for months, why you waited until now to bring her into the light. Dorian's face went pale. Because he couldn't explain. Not in a way that didn't sound selfish. McKenna's heart cracked. She looked at Dorian. Is it true? Dorian's voice was raw. It's not that simple. Yes or no? McKenna demanded. Silence. Heavy. Damning. Yes, Dorian finally said. The word shattered something in McKenna's chest. Gideon extended his hand. Slow. Deliberate. Come with me, he said gently. And I'll give you everything he never can. Power. Control. The truth without manipulation. McKenna stared at his hand. Her mind screamed at her to refuse, to spit in his face, to stand with Dorian. But doubt crawled through her. What if Gideon was right? What if Dorian had been using her all along? McKenna, Dorian whispered. Please. She looked at him, saw the fear in his eyes. Real fear. Don't do this, he said. Whatever he's offering, it's a trap. Is it? McKenna asked quietly. Or is it the first honest thing anyone said to me since I got here? Dorian's breath hitched. Gideon's smile was triumphant. Smart girl. McKenna's hand trembled. She looked at Gideon, then at Dorian, then back at Gideon's outstretched hand. Every fiber of her being screamed no, but her mother's voice echoed. Be smarter than men who believe they own the world, and sometimes being smart meant playing the long game. McKenna took a breath, then reached out, and took Gideon's hand. Dorian's face went white. No. I want answers, McKenna said, her voice steady. All of them. Gideon's grip was firm. And you'll get them. He turned to Dorian. You see? Even she knows you're not worth her loyalty. Dorian looked shattered. McKenna. But she turned away. Followed Gideon toward the door. Each step felt like walking through glass. Behind her, she heard Dorian's voice. Broken. Desperate. Don't believe him, please. Makina didn't look back. Couldn't. Because if she did, she'd break. And she needed Gideon to believe this was real. That she was choosing him. That she was done fighting. At the threshold, Gideon paused, looked back at Dorian with pure satisfaction. "I told you," he said. "Everyone has a price." Then he led Makina into the darkness. The door closed behind them, and Dorian was left standing in the foyer, surrounded by guards, alone, watching the woman he'd sworn to protect walk away with the man who'd destroyed everything. For the first time since this began, Makina had chosen Gideon. Or so it seemed. Makina's hand felt cold in Gideon's grip. She walked beside him down the long hallway, away from Dorian, away from the truth she'd fought for. Every step felt wrong, but she kept walking. Behind her, she heard nothing. No footsteps chasing after her. No voice calling her back. Just silence. Heavy. Damning. Gideon led her to his private study. Massive. Dark wood and leather. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. He released her hand and moved to pour himself a drink. "Sit," he said. It wasn't a request. Makina sat. Her heart pounded so hard she thought he'd hear it. Gideon took his time, sipped his whiskey, studied her like she was a puzzle he'd finally solved. "You made the right choice," he said. Makina's throat was tight. "Did I?" Gideon smiled. "Dorian would have kept you in the shadows forever, used you when convenient, discarded you when you became a threat. And what will you do?" Makina asked. Gideon sat across from her, leaned back, relaxed, like he'd already won. "I'll give you what you came for," he said. "The truth." Makina forced herself to hold his gaze, then start talking. Gideon chuckled. Elena wasn't the saint they painted her to be. Makina's chest tightened. "She was my partner," Gideon continued. "In every sense, we built this empire together. But she got greedy, wanted more control, more power. So you killed her," Makina said flatly. "I protected what we built," Gideon corrected. "She was going to destroy it, take everything public, ruin us both." His voice was calm, reasonable, like murder was just another business decision. "And Althea?" Makina asked. Gideon's expression hardened. "Althea was a thief. She stole documents, forged signatures, tried to frame me for crimes I didn't commit." "You mean crimes you did commit?" Makina shot back. Gideon's smile was cold. "Perspective is everything, dear." Makina's hands clenched. "Why should I believe anything you say?" "Because I'm the only one who's been honest with you," Gideon replied. "Dorian hid your identity. Elena abandoned you. Althea used you as leverage." He leaned forward. "I'm offering you a choice. Take your rightful place. Run this empire with me. Or walk away and spend the rest of your life wondering what could have been." Makina's mind raced. She needed to keep him talking. Keep him believing she was on his side. "What about Dorian?" she asked. Gideon waved a hand dismissively. "He's irrelevant now. Without you, he has no leverage, no claim. He'll fall in line or be removed." "Removed," Makina repeated. Gideon's eyes glinted. "Permanently, if necessary." Makina's stomach turned. Trust is believing in someone even when everything looks wrong. Have you ever had to trust blindly? That's the weight Dorian carries now. She thought of Dorian, standing in that foyer, watching her walk away. He'd looked destroyed, but his eyes had held something else. Trust. He trusted her, even now, even when everything screamed betrayal. Makina took a breath. "I want to see the original contracts," she said, "the ones that prove my family's stake." Gideon studied her. "Why?" "Because if I'm going to take my place," Makina said carefully, "I need to know exactly what I'm walking into." Gideon nodded slowly. "Smart." He stood, walked to a massive safe hidden behind a painting, entered a code. The door swung open. Inside were rows of files, legal documents, contracts, evidence, everything. Gideon pulled out a thick folder, set it on the desk in front of her. "This is everything," he said. "The original partnership agreement, the forged transfer documents, the proof of your bloodline." Makina's hands trembled as she opened it. And there it was, her family name, her mother's signature, the truth in black and white. "Tomorrow," Gideon said, "we call an emergency board meeting. We present you as the rightful heir, and we vote Dorian out." Makina looked up. "And if he fights back?" Gideon's smile was predatory. "He won't survive it." Makina's blood ran cold, but she forced herself to nod. "Okay." Gideon looked pleased. "I knew you were smart." He moved toward the door. "Get some rest," he said. "Tomorrow everything changes." He left. The door clicked shut. Makina was alone. She stared at the folder in front of her. Her hands shook. She'd done it. She'd gotten inside, gained his trust, gotten access to everything. But at what cost? Dorian thought she'd betrayed him, and for this plan to work, he had to keep believing it. Makina pulled out her phone, typed a message, 3 words, "Trust me, tomorrow." She didn't sign it, didn't explain. She couldn't risk Gideon finding out. She hit send, then deleted the message, erased the evidence, and prayed Dorian would understand. Outside the study, footsteps approached. Makina's pulse spiked. The door opened, but it wasn't Gideon. It was one of the security guards, the same one who'd grabbed Dorian earlier. He stepped inside, closed the door behind him, locked it. Makina stood. "What do you want?" The guard didn't answer, just pulled out his phone, held it up so she could see the screen. A text message. From Gideon. "Make sure she doesn't leave. If she tries, stop her." Makina's heart stopped, because Gideon didn't trust her at all. He'd locked her in. And now she was trapped, with no way out, and no way to warn Dorian that tomorrow wasn't just a board meeting. It was an execution. The guard stood between Makina and the door, silent, immovable. Makina's mind raced. She was trapped. No phone, no escape, no way to warn Dorian. "How long?" she asked. The guard didn't answer. Makina paced. Every second felt like an hour. Then the door opened again. Gideon entered with a tablet in his hand. The guard stepped outside, locked them in together. "I thought we had an understanding," Gideon said calmly. Makina stopped pacing. "We do." "Then why did you try to send a message?" Makina's blood went cold. He'd been monitoring her phone. "I wasn't—" "Don't lie to me," Gideon interrupted. "I've spent my life reading people, and you, my dear, are terrified." Makina's jaw clenched. "I'm not afraid of you." Gideon smiled. "You should be." He set the tablet on the desk, tapped the screen. Documents appeared, emails, contracts, all with Dorian's name on them. "Look closely," Gideon said. Makina stepped forward. Her eyes scanned the pages, forged signatures, fabricated transactions, evidence that made Dorian look like the architect of everything. "This is fake," Makina said. "Is it?" Gideon asked. "Or is it the truth you've been too blind to see?" He swiped to another document, an email chain, between Dorian and someone named Marcus Chen. Subject, Makina Carter. Asset or liability? Makina's stomach twisted. She read the messages, Dorian discussing her arrival, calling her useful leverage, planning to control the narrative once she discovered her identity. "He knew who you were the moment you walked through those doors," Gideon said. "He's been manipulating you from day one." Makina's hands shook. "You fabricated this." "Did I?" Gideon pulled up another file. Bank records. Dorian's been funneling money into offshore accounts, money that belongs to this company, money that belongs to you. Makina's vision blurred. The numbers were staggering. Millions. Taken systematically over years. He's been stealing from his own family, Gideon continued. From Elena, from the estate, and now, from you. McKenna looked up. Why are you showing me this? Because tomorrow he'll paint me as the villain, Gideon said. He'll stand in front of that board and tell them I'm the thief, the murderer, the monster. He leaned closer. But you know the truth now, don't you? McKenna's mind was spinning. She wanted to call him a liar, to trust Dorian. But the evidence, it looked real. Too real. Once you claim the Empire, Gideon said softly, you disappear. That's Dorian's plan. He keeps control. You become a name on paper. A ghost. Just like Elena. McKenna's throat tightened. And what's your plan? Gideon straightened. Tomorrow's board meeting. I present the real evidence. Not forged documents, not manipulated files. The truth. Your version of it, McKenna said. Gideon smiled. The only version that matters. He moved toward the door, paused. You have a choice to make, McKenna. Stand with a man who's been using you. Or stand with the man who's giving you everything. He knocked. The guard opened the door. Think carefully, Gideon said, because tomorrow there's no going back. He left. The door locked again. McKenna sank into the chair. Her hands covered her face. She didn't know what to believe anymore. Gideon was a liar, but Dorian had lied too. Kept secrets. Used her. Maybe. McKenna's phone buzzed. She'd hidden it under the desk. One message. From an unknown number. Don't trust the documents. Gideon's lying. Board meeting is a trap. D. McKenna's heart slammed. Dorian. He'd gotten through. She typed fast. How do I know you're not lying? The response came immediately. Because I'm giving you a choice. Tomorrow, vote against me if you want. But know this, whatever you decide, I'll protect you. McKenna's vision blurred. She wanted to believe him. God, she wanted to. But trust had been shattered too many times. She typed one more message. What happens tomorrow? Dorian's response was simple. The truth. All of it. No more secrets. McKenna stared at the screen, then deleted the conversation. Wiped it clean. She couldn't afford Gideon finding out. She stood. Walked to the window. The city glowed below. Distant. Beautiful. Unaware that tomorrow an empire would either fall or rise. And McKenna Carter, the girl who'd entered this house as a maid, would be the one to decide which. But as she stood there, a new sound cut through the silence. Sirens. Faint at first, then louder, closer. McKenna's pulse spiked. She pressed against the glass, watched as police cars flooded the estate gates. Her breath caught. Someone had called them. But who? The door burst open. The guard rushed in. We need to move, he said urgently. What's happening? McKenna demanded. Police raid. Someone tipped them off about financial fraud. McKenna's mind raced. Dorian. It had to be. Where's Gideon? She asked. Gone. He left through the back 5 minutes ago. The guard grabbed her arm. We have orders to get you out. Whose orders? The guard didn't answer, just pulled her toward a hidden exit. McKenna resisted. Wait. No time. They moved through dark corridors, downstairs she didn't know existed, to an underground garage. A car was waiting, engine running. The back door opened, and inside sat Dorian. McKenna's breath stopped. He looked at her, battered, exhausted, but alive. Get in, he said. McKenna hesitated. This is insane, McKenna, Dorian said quietly. Trust me. One more time. Above them, footsteps thundered. Voices shouted. The raid was spreading. McKenna looked at Dorian, then at the chaos behind her, and made a choice. She got in the car. The door slammed. The car peeled out, and as they disappeared into the Uzats, night, McKenna realized tomorrow's board meeting wasn't coming. Because tonight, everything had already changed. The car didn't stop until dawn. They'd driven through the night. No words, just silence and the hum of the engine. When they finally pulled up to a private building downtown, McKenna's legs were numb. Dorian helped her out. "Where are we?" she asked. "Somewhere Gideon can't reach," Dorian said. He led her inside, to an elevator that required a key card. They rode up in silence. The doors opened to a conference floor. Glass walls, empty desks, and in the center, a boardroom. McKenna's stomach dropped. "I thought we were running," she said. "We were," Dorian replied. "But running won't fix this. The board meeting is still happening. Today. In 2 hours." McKenna's pulse spiked. "Gideon will be there." "I'm counting on it," Dorian said. He opened the door to the boardroom. Inside sat 3 people McKenna didn't recognize. Lawyers, investigators. People Dorian had clearly been working with. "This is McKenna Carter," Dorian said. "Elena Vale's daughter, the rightful heir." One of the lawyers stood, extended a hand. "We've been waiting for you." McKenna shook it numbly. "What's happening?" "We're taking back what's yours," the lawyer said. "Today." McKenna looked at Dorian. "You planned this." "I had to," Dorian said. "Gideon's been one step ahead for too long. But now, we have everything. The real documents, the truth." He pulled out a folder, thicker than any she'd seen before. "This is it," he said. "Proof of the original partnership. Proof of the fraud. Proof that you own 51% of Vale Industries." McKenna's hands trembled as she took it. "And the board will believe this?" "They will when they see the DNA results," the lawyer said. "And the testimony from Elena's personal attorney. And the financial records showing Gideon's embezzlement." McKenna's mind spun. "This is really happening." "Yes," Dorian said quietly. "And you need to be ready." 2 hours later, they entered the Vale Industries boardroom. McKenna's heart pounded with every step. The room was massive, all glass and power. 12 board members sat around the table. Cameras lined the walls for the virtual attendees. This wasn't just a meeting. It was a public execution. The question was, whose? Gideon sat at the head of the table, calm, composed, smiling like he'd already won. When McKenna entered beside Dorian, the room stirred. Whispers, confusion. Gideon's smile didn't falter, but his eyes darkened. "Dorian," he said smoothly, "how kind of you to bring our guest." Dorian didn't respond. He pulled out a chair for McKenna. She sat. Every eye in the room was on her. The board chair cleared her throat. "We're here to address allegations of financial misconduct and leadership disputes within Vale Industries." Gideon stood. "Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll be brief." He clicked a remote. The screens behind him lit up. Documents appeared. Emails. Bank records. All with Dorian's name attached. "For the past 5 years," Gideon began, "my son has been systematically stealing from this company. Offshore accounts, shell corporations, millions siphoned away." Gasps rippled through the room. Gideon continued. "And recently, he recruited an accomplice." The screen changed. McKenna's face appeared. Her employment records, fake credentials, altered documents. "This woman," Gideon said, "entered our home under false pretenses, stole proprietary information, and worked with Dorian to destabilize this company from within." McKenna's chest tightened. All eyes turned to her, judging, condemning. Gideon's voice was calm, reasonable, convincing. "I move for an immediate vote to remove Dorian Vale from all positions of authority," he said, "and to pursue legal action against both parties for fraud and theft." Silence, heavy, suffocating. Dorian leaned close to McKenna, whispered, "This isn't real." McKenna's hands shook under the table. She looked at Dorian, then at Gideon, then at the board members watching her like a criminal. Standing up for truth when everyone's watching takes more than courage. It takes belief in something bigger than fear. Would you have spoken up? McKenna took a breath, stood. Every head turned. He's lying, she said. Her voice cut through the silence. Clear. Steady. Gideon's smile froze. Excuse me? The board chair asked. McKenna's heart slammed, but she didn't sit. Gideon Vale is lying, she repeated. Those documents are fabricated. The emails are forged, and I'm not an accomplice. She pulled out the folder Dorian had given her, slid it across the table to the board chair. I'm Elena Vale's daughter, McKenna said, the rightful heir to 51% of this company. And I have proof. The room exploded. Voices overlapping, shock, disbelief. Gideon's face went pale. This is absurd. DNA results, McKenna interrupted. Legal documents, testimony from Elena's attorney. She looked directly at Gideon. You stole my inheritance. You killed my mother. And you've been lying to this board for decades. Silence fell again. The board chair opened the folder. Her eyes widened as she read. This is real, Dorian finished. Every word. Gideon's jaw clenched. You can't trust anything they say? Then let's verify it, the board chair said. Right now. She picked up the phone, called the company's legal team. 10 minutes of verification felt like hours. Then the lawyer's voice came through the speaker. The DNA results are legitimate. The documents are authenticated. McKenna Carter is Elena Vale's biological daughter. The room erupted again. Gideon stood. This is a setup. Sit down, the board chair commanded. For the first time, Gideon looked rattled. The board chair turned to McKenna. Can you prove the allegations against Gideon Vale? McKenna nodded. Dorian stood, pulled out a second folder. Financial records showing embezzlement, witness testimony about Elena's murder, and video evidence of Gideon confessing to multiple crimes. He pressed play. The screen filled with footage. Gideon's voice, clear, damning, admitting everything. The room went silent. All eyes on Gideon. He didn't move, didn't speak, just stared at the screen like he was watching his empire crumble. Because he was. The board chair stood. Gideon Vale, you are hereby removed from all positions effective immediately. Security will escort you out while we conduct a full investigation. Guards entered. Approached Gideon. He looked at McKenna, and for the first time, she saw fear, real fear. This isn't over, he said quietly. McKenna met his gaze. Yes, she said, it is. The guards took him away, and as the door closed behind him, McKenna finally breathed, but then the board chair spoke again. Miss Carter, there's one more matter. McKenna's stomach dropped. We need to address your claim to the company. The room waited, and McKenna realized this wasn't the end. It was just beginning. McKenna stepped forward. Her heart pounded, but her voice was steady. Before we discuss my claim, she said, you need to see something. The board chair nodded. Proceed. McKenna pulled out a flash drive, the same one that had arrived at her door months ago. She handed it to Dorian. He plugged it into the system. The screens flickered. Then Althea's face filled the room. Alive. Clear. Determined. McKenna's throat tightened, even now seeing her hurt. My name is Althea Carter, her mother's voice began. If you're watching this, I'm already dead. The room went silent. I worked for the Vale family for 15 years. I watched them build an empire on stolen ground. I watched them destroy families, silence witnesses, erase anyone who threatened their power. Althea paused, looked directly into the camera. Gideon Vale murdered Elena Vale. He forged documents to steal her family's company. And when I found proof, he tried to kill me too. Gasps echoed through the boardroom. But before he could, Althea continued, I hid the evidence. And I hid something more important. The camera shifted. Showed a younger Makina, maybe 7 years old, playing in a park, unaware she was being filmed. "This is my daughter," Althea said. Makina Carter. She doesn't know the truth yet. She doesn't know that her real mother was Elena Vale, that Gideon stole her at birth, that I've spent her entire life protecting her from a man who would kill her to keep his empire. Makina's vision blurred. The room was silent except for Althea's voice. "If Makina is watching this," Althea said, "know that everything I did was to keep you safe, and know that you have every right to reclaim what was stolen from you." She leaned closer to the camera. "Gideon Vale murdered me. Don't let him get away with it." The video ended. Silence. Heavy. Crushing. Then chaos erupted. Board members shouting, lawyers scrambling, the board chair banging her gavel. Order. Slowly, the room quieted. The chair looked at Makina. "Do you have additional evidence to support these claims?" Makina nodded. Dorian pulled out another folder, thicker than before. "Financial records," he said, "showing systematic theft over 20 years, medical records proving Elena Vale gave birth to Makina, and witness testimony from 3 former employees who saw Gideon kill Elena." He slid everything across the table. The board chair's hand shook as she reviewed it. "This is everything," Makina finished, "the full truth." The chair looked up. "Miss Carter, these allegations are severe. If proven true, Gideon Vale will face criminal charges. But we need time to verify." "You don't have time," Makina interrupted. She pulled out her phone, showed them a news alert. Federal investigators had just arrived at Vale Industries headquarters, armed with warrants, ready to seize everything. "I contacted them last night," Makina said. "Gave them copies of everything. The board meeting was a formality. Gideon's already done." The room exploded again. Some board members stood. Others pulled out phones. The chair looked shaken. "Security," she called. "Detain Gideon Vale immediately." But the guards at the door shook their heads. "He's gone, ma'am." "What?" "He left during the video. Back exit." Makina's stomach dropped. Dorian cursed under his breath. "He ran," Makina whispered. "He won't get far," Dorian said. "Police are outside. Airports are being monitored. He's trapped." The board chair stood. "This meeting is adjourned pending investigation. Miss Carter, you'll need to remain available for questioning." Makina nodded. The board members filed out, murmuring, shocked. Some looked at Makina with respect, others with suspicion, but they all knew one thing. The Vale Empire had just collapsed. When the room finally emptied, only Makina and Dorian remained. He turned to her. "You played him perfectly," he said quietly. Makina's legs felt weak. She sat. "I thought you believed I betrayed you," she said. Dorian shook his head. "I knew you didn't. The moment you walked away with Gideon, I knew." "How?" "Because you looked back," Dorian said. "Just for a second. And I saw it in your eyes. You were still fighting." Makina's throat burned. "I never left," she whispered. "I just needed him to believe I did." Dorian smiled, sad, relieved. "You risked everything." "So did you," Makina replied. They sat in silence. 2 people who'd fought their way through lies and blood to get here. Then Dorian's phone buzzed. He looked at the screen. His face went pale. "What?" Makina asked. Dorian turned the phone toward her. "A message from an unknown number. You think you won, but you forgot one thing. I still have leverage." Attached was a photo. Makina's breath stopped. It was a woman, tied to a chair, beaten, unconscious, and Makina recognized her. It was Elena Vale's personal attorney, the one who'd testified, the one who'd helped them build the case. Below the photo, one more message. "Come alone, or she dies." Makina's hands shook. He has her. Dorian's jaw clenched. "It's a trap." "I know," Makina said. "Then we call the police." There's no time, McKenna interrupted. She stood. I'm going. McKenna, this is my fight, Dorian. She's in danger because of me. Dorian grabbed her arm. Then I'm coming with you. McKenna met his eyes and nodded. Because this time, they'd finish it together. But as they left the boardroom, neither of them saw the figure watching from the shadows. Someone who'd been there the whole time. Someone who'd heard everything, and who picked up their phone, sent a single message. They're coming. Gideon wasn't just running, he was waiting, and McKenna was walking straight into his final trap. Gideon Vale was escorted out in silence. No speeches, no final words. Just the sound of his footsteps echoing down the marble hallway. The man who'd ruled an empire for 30 years, removed in minutes. McKenna watched from the boardroom window, watched as police cars surrounded him, watched as they put him in handcuffs, watched as everything he'd built crumbled. But she didn't feel victorious. She felt hollow. Behind her, the board reconvened. Emergency vote. Control of Vale Industries. McKenna heard the words but didn't process them. Interim leadership. Majority shareholder. McKenna Carter. 51% owner. The gavel struck. Motion passed. The empire had shifted, and McKenna was standing at the center of it, shaking. The room emptied again. Lawyers, board members, all rushing to handle the fallout. McKenna stayed at the window, staring at nothing. Then she felt him. Dorian, standing beside her, not touching, just present. You did it, he said quietly. McKenna didn't respond. You won, Dorian continued. McKenna's voice cracked. Then why doesn't it feel like winning? Dorian was silent for a moment, then spoke. Because you lost people along the way, and that doesn't disappear just because you're standing. McKenna's throat burned. My mother died for this. She died protecting you, Dorian corrected gently. There's a difference. McKenna finally turned to face him. You knew all along who I was, what I was owed. Dorian nodded. Yes, and you let me walk into this house blind. I kept you alive, Dorian said. That was the only thing that mattered. McKenna's eyes searched his face. You played me too. Dorian's jaw tightened. I protected you. There's a difference. Is there? Silence stretched between them. Then Dorian exhaled. You scared me, he admitted. McKenna blinked. What? When you walked away with my father, Dorian said. When you took his hand. For a moment I thought I'd lost you. McKenna's chest tightened. You knew I wasn't betraying you. I believed you weren't, Dorian corrected. But belief and certainty are different things. He stepped closer. And the truth is, McKenna, I was terrified. Because if I was wrong, I'd just handed you to the man who destroys everything he touches. McKenna's hands trembled. But you trusted me anyway. I had to, Dorian said quietly, because you trusted me first. Victory doesn't erase fear. It just proves you were strong enough to face it. If this moment moved you, someone else needs to see it too. McKenna looked down. What happens now? Dorian was quiet for a beat. That's up to you. You own this company. You have the power. You can do whatever you want. McKenna laughed, bitter, empty. I don't want power. I wanted truth. I wanted justice for my mother. You got it, Dorian said. Did I? McKenna's voice rose. Gideon's arrested, sure. But my mother's still gone. Elena's still gone. And I'm standing in a building full of blood money wondering what the hell I'm supposed to do with it. Dorian reached out, took her hand. You don't have to decide today. McKenna looked at their joined hands. What do you want, Dorian? He hesitated, then spoke carefully. I want you to be free, to choose your life without owing anyone anything. McKenna met his eyes. And what about you? Dorian's throat bobbed. What about me? McKenna stepped closer. What do you want? From me? From this? Dorian's voice dropped. I want... He stopped himself. McKenna's heart pounded. Say it. Dorian's eyes burned. I want you to stay. Not because you have to. Not because you owe me, but because you want to. Makina's breath caught. And if I said what I want isn't about owing? Dorian's grip tightened. Then what is it about? Makina swallowed hard. It's about the fact that you're the only person who's ever seen me. Not as a maid. Not as an heir. Just as me. Dorian's expression softened. Makina... But before he could finish, the door burst open. A security guard, out of breath, panicked. We have a problem. Dorian tensed. What kind of problem? The guard held up a tablet, showed them a live newsfeed. Gideon Vale, being transported. But the convoy had stopped, surrounded, armed men, no badges, no uniforms. Someone's trying to break him out, the guard said. Makina's blood went cold. Who? The guard looked grim. We don't know, but they're not police. Dorian cursed, pulled out his phone, dialed. No answer. He tried again. Nothing. The attorney, Makina whispered, the one Gideon threatened. Dorian's face went pale. It's a diversion. What? The attack on the convoy, Dorian said. It's to pull police away, so he can get to her. Makina's stomach dropped. We have to go. We have to call. There's no time, Makina interrupted. She moved toward the door. Dorian grabbed her arm. Makina, this is insane. We don't even know where he's holding her. Makina pulled out her phone, showed him a message. From the unknown number, an address, sent 5 minutes ago. Old Vale Estate. East Wing. Come alone or she dies. Midnight. Dorian's jaw clenched. It's a trap. I know, Makina said. Then why? Because she's in danger because of me, Makina said firmly. And I'm not letting anyone else die for the truth. She pulled free of his grip. Headed for the elevator. Dorian followed. I'm coming with you. He said alone. I don't care. They stepped into the elevator. The doors closed, and as they descended, neither of them spoke. Because they both knew. This wasn't over. Gideon Vale might be in custody, but he'd planned for this. And tonight, at the place where everything began, it would finally end. One way or another. The elevator hit the ground floor, the doors opened, and Makina walked toward the car, toward the East Wing, toward the final confrontation. But what she didn't know was that Gideon wasn't waiting for her. Someone else was. Someone who'd been in the shadows all along. Someone who wanted Makina dead more than Gideon ever did. And they were already at the estate, waiting. The car ride to the old estate was silent, tense. Makina stared out the window. Dorian drove, both lost in their own thoughts. The old Vale estate loomed ahead, abandoned for years, dark, forgotten, the place where everything had started. Dorian pulled over a block away. We walk from here, he said. Makina nodded. They got out. The night air was cold, heavy. As they approached the gates, Dorian stopped, turned to her. Before we go in there, he said, I need to say something. Makina's heart pounded. Dorian, we don't have time. I didn't plan this, he interrupted. Makina froze. What? Wanting you, Dorian said quietly. I didn't plan it. Didn't expect it. Didn't even realize it was happening until it was too late to stop. Makina's breath caught. Dorian, when I first found out who you were, he continued, you were supposed to be a problem to manage. Evidence to hide. A liability. He stepped closer. But then, you walked into that house. And you were smart. And fierce. And you didn't break. His voice roughened. And somewhere along the way, protecting you stopped being about duty. It became about not being able to imagine a world where you didn't exist. Makina's throat burned. I didn't plan this either, she whispered. Dorian's eyes searched hers. Then what is this? Makina swallowed hard. It's you seeing me when I was invisible. It's you trusting me when I didn't trust myself. She stepped closer. You didn't protect me by hiding me, Dorian. You protected me by believing I could fight." Their foreheads touched. Neither moved, just breathed, together. "I'm terrified," Makina admitted. "Of what?" "Of losing this, of losing you." Dorian's hand found hers. "You won't." "How do you know?" "Because I'm not going anywhere," Dorian said firmly. "Not unless you tell me to." Makina's eyes closed. "What if I can't do this? The company, the responsibility, all of it." "Then we figure it out together," Dorian said. "Together," Makina repeated. The word felt fragile, but real. She opened her eyes, looked at him. When this is over," Dorian said, "we start fresh. No lies, no secrets, just us." Makina nodded, then pulled back. "We should go." Dorian hesitated, then nodded. They moved toward the estate, through the broken gates, across the overgrown grounds, to the east wing. The door was unlocked. Makina's pulse spiked. They entered. The hallway was dark, cold, abandoned, but at the end, a light, coming from the room where Makina had found the safe, where everything had changed. They approached slowly, Dorian's hand on her back, protective, ready. Makina pushed the door open and froze. The attorney wasn't tied up. She was standing, alive, unharmed, smiling. "Hello, Makina," she said calmly. Makina's stomach dropped. "What's going on?" The attorney stepped aside, and behind her, standing in the shadows, was someone Makina recognized, but couldn't believe. A woman, older, elegant, with Makina's eyes. "Hello, daughter," the woman said softly. Makina's world tilted. "No." The woman stepped into the light, and Makina saw it. The resemblance. Undeniable. "Elena?" Makina whispered. The woman smiled. "I've been waiting a long time to meet you." Makina staggered back. Dorian caught her. "That's impossible," he said. "You're dead. I saw—" "You saw what Gideon wanted you to see," Elena interrupted. "A body. A funeral. A lie." Makina's chest heaved. "You're alive." "I've been alive this whole time," Elena said, hiding, watching, waiting for the right moment. "Why?" Makina's voice cracked. "Why let everyone think you were dead?" "Because it was the only way to protect you," Elena said. "And to destroy Gideon." Makina's mind spun. "Althea raised you for me," Elena finished. "Loved you for me. And yes, died for me." Makina's legs gave out. She sank to the floor. Dorian knelt beside her. "This can't be real." "It is," Elena said gently. "And now that Gideon's arrested, I can finally come home." She extended a hand. "Come with me, Makina. Let me show you who you really are." Makina stared at the hand. The same hand in the photograph. The same hand that had let her go 20 years ago. Behind Elena, the attorney spoke. "Miss Carter, the board is waiting. They need your signature to finalize the transfer of power." Makina looked up. "What transfer?" The attorney smiled. "With Elena Vale alive, the inheritance changes. She retains majority control. You become secondary." Makina's blood ran cold. "What?" Elena's expression didn't change. "It's for the best, darling. You're not ready for this responsibility. Let me handle it." Makina's hands shook. "You want me to give up my claim?" "I want you to trust your mother," Elena said smoothly. Makina looked at Dorian. His face was pale. "Don't," he whispered. Elena's smile faded. "Dorian, stay out of this. She's using you," Dorian said to Makina, "just like everyone else." "I'm her mother," Elena snapped. "You abandoned her," Dorian shot back. Silence, heavy, damning. Elena's eyes hardened. "Sign the papers, Makina, or I'll make sure Gideon walks free, and we both know what he'll do to you." Makina's world collapsed, because the woman who gave birth to her, the woman she'd spent her life searching for, was just another person trying to use her, and Makina had walked right into the trap. Makina didn't sign the papers. She stood, looked Elena in the eyes. "No," Elena's smile faltered. Excuse me? I said no, McKenna repeated. You don't get to show up after 20 years and take what's mine. Elena's expression hardened. I'm your mother. You're a stranger. McKenna cut her off. Althea was my mother. She raised me, protected me, died for me. She stepped closer. You? You hid. You let everyone believe you were dead while Althea took bullets meant for you. Elena's jaw clenched. I did what I had to do. So did I, McKenna said firmly, and I'm not giving you anything. The attorney moved forward. Miss Carter, you don't understand the legal... I understand perfectly, McKenna interrupted. Elena Vale is alive. But she abandoned her claim when she faked her death. The company transferred to Gideon. And when he was removed, it transferred to me. She looked at the attorney. Legally, I own 51%. And Elena has no claim unless I give it to her. Silence. The attorney's face paled. Elena's mask finally cracked. You ungrateful. I'm done being used, McKenna said coldly. She turned to Dorian. We're leaving. Dorian nodded. They moved toward the door, but Elena's voice stopped them. If you walk out that door, I'll destroy you. I'll leak every secret, every lie. I'll make sure the world knows you stole what's mine. McKenna turned back. Try it, she said. And I'll make sure the world knows you abandoned your daughter and let another woman die in your place. Elena's face went white. McKenna walked out. Dorian followed. And behind them, Elena stood frozen. Defeated. For the first time in 20 years. They drove back to the city in silence. When they finally pulled up to Vale Industries headquarters, dawn was breaking. The board was waiting. Emergency reconvene. McKenna walked in, exhausted, but unbroken. The board chair stood. Miss Carter, we've reviewed the legal documents. Elena Vale's claim has been disputed. Until it's resolved, you retain majority ownership. The chair extended a hand. Congratulations. You are officially co-owner and acting CEO of Vale Industries. McKenna shook her hand, numbly. The room applauded, but McKenna barely heard it. Later, alone in what used to be Gideon's office, McKenna stood at the window, watching the city wake up. Dorian entered quietly. You okay? He asked. McKenna didn't turn. I don't know. Dorian moved beside her. You're free now, he said gently. From Gideon, from Elena, from all of it. McKenna's throat tightened. Am I? She finally looked at him. Or did I just trade one cage for another? Dorian's expression softened. That's up to you. McKenna studied his face. What if I don't want to do this alone? Dorian's voice was quiet. Then don't. With you? McKenna asked. Dorian stepped closer. With me? McKenna's breath caught. For the first time in months, she smiled. Real, unforced. Okay, she whispered. Dorian smiled back, and for a moment, everything felt possible. But outside, 50 floors below, a black car sat idling. In the back seat, a man made a phone call. His voice was calm, cold, familiar. It's done. The board thinks I'm in custody. Elena's been neutralized, and McKenna has exactly what we wanted her to have. A pause, then he smiled. Begin phase 2. The man hung up, looked up at the Vale Industries building, and Gideon Vale's eyes glinted with satisfaction. Because he wasn't in police custody. The man they'd arrested was a double, a pawn. Gideon had been free the whole time, watching, waiting, planning. And now, with McKenna holding all the power, with the board distracted, with Elena discredited, Gideon could execute the final phase, the one that would destroy them all. He pulled out a second phone, sent a single message. Activate the accounts, drain everything, make it look like she did it. Within minutes, Vale Industries' assets began moving, millions, then billions, transferred to offshore accounts, all traced back to McKenna Carter's digital signature. Gideon leaned back, smiled. "Enjoy your victory, dear," he whispered. "It won't last long." Because by tomorrow morning, McKenna would be framed for the largest corporate theft in history. The board would turn on her, the public would destroy her, and Gideon would walk back in, the hero, ready to save his company from the girl who'd stolen it. Freedom is never final when someone refuses to let you have it. If you've ever fought for peace only to see the battle restart, you know this feeling. Inside the office, McKenna's phone buzzed. She pulled it out. One notification. Urgent. Unauthorized transactions detected. Her stomach dropped. "Dorian." But before she could finish, alarms blared throughout the building. Security rushed in. "Miss Carter, we have a problem." McKenna's hands shook. "What kind of problem?" The guard held up a tablet, showed her the transactions, billions moving, all under her authorization. "We need you to come with us," the guard said. "I didn't do this." "That's what they all say," another guard interrupted. Dorian stepped between them. "She's not going anywhere until we see evidence." "The evidence is right there," the first guard said. He turned the tablet around, and McKenna saw it. Her signature, her accounts, her codes, all used to drain Vale Industries dry. "No," she whispered, because she realized this was never about taking the company from Gideon. It was about letting her think she'd won, so he could frame her, destroy her, and take everything back. The guards moved forward. "McKenna Carter, you're under arrest for corporate fraud and embezzlement." McKenna's world shattered, because just when she thought she was free, Gideon had pulled her right back in, and this time, there was no way out. The headlines hit before dawn. Heiress slept with CEO to seize empire. McKenna Carter, gold digger or criminal mastermind. Vale, sit industries in chaos as billions disappear. McKenna stared at her phone screen, numb. The media had turned on her overnight. Every news station, every website, every social media platform, her face plastered everywhere. Not as a victim, not as an heir, as a thief. Dorian paced the hotel room they'd fled to. "We need to release a statement." "No," McKenna said. Her voice was flat, empty. "McKenna, they're going to believe what they want," she said. "A statement won't change that." Dorian knelt in front of her. "Then what do we do?" McKenna looked at him. Really looked at him. "I face them." Dorian's eyes widened. "That's suicide. The media will tear you apart." "They're already doing that," McKenna said. "At least this way, they'll have to look me in the eyes while they do it." By noon, McKenna stood outside Vale Industries, cameras everywhere, reporters shouting questions, microphones shoved in her face. Dorian stood beside her, silent support. A podium had been set up. McKenna stepped up to it. The crowd quieted, waiting, hungry. McKenna took a breath, then spoke. "My name is McKenna Carter, and you don't know me." Her voice was steady, clear. "You know what the headlines say. You know the accusations. You think you know my story." She paused. "But let me tell you who I really am." The crowd leaned in. "I'm the daughter of a woman who died protecting the truth. I'm the child who was stolen at birth and hidden for 20 years. I'm the maid who walked into a house built on lies." Her voice strengthened. "I didn't inherit power. I reclaimed it." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. "Gideon Vale didn't just steal from my family," McKenna continued. "He stole my identity, my mother, my life." She looked directly at the cameras. "And when I finally found the truth, he tried to destroy me, frame me, erase me. Just like he erased everyone else who threatened him," a reporter shouted. "What about the missing billions?" McKenna's jaw set. "I didn't steal anything. Gideon did, and he made it look like I was responsible." "How do we know you're not lying?" another reporter yelled. McKenna pulled out a folder, held it up. "Because I have proof. Bank records, digital trails, evidence that every transaction was authorized from an IP address traced to Gideon Vale's personal devices. She dropped the folder on the podium. You want the truth? Take it. Investigate it. Verify it. Silence. Then one voice, a woman in the back. Why should we believe you? McKenna met her eyes. Because I'm standing here, facing you, while Gideon Vale is hiding. She stepped back from the mic. That's all. The crowd erupted. Questions flying, cameras flashing. But McKenna walked away, head high. Dorian followed. That was stupid, McKenna finished. Brave, Dorian corrected. They got in the car, drove away, and within hours, the tide began to turn. Social media exploded. Feats stand with McKenna trending, people digging into the evidence, finding the truth, journalists retracting stories, apologizing. By evening, public opinion had shifted. McKenna wasn't the villain. She was the survivor. In the hotel room, McKenna collapsed on the bed, exhausted. Dorian sat beside her. You did it, he said quietly. McKenna closed her eyes. We did it. She felt his hand find hers. What happens now? Dorian asked. McKenna opened her eyes. Now we finish it. Find Gideon. Make sure he never comes back. Dorian nodded, but before either could say more, McKenna's phone rang. Unknown number, she answered. Put it on speaker. Hello? Silence, then a voice, distorted, electronic. You think you won? McKenna's blood went cold. Who is this? Someone who's been watching, someone who knows you're not done fighting. McKenna sat up. What do you want? To help you, the voice said. Gideon isn't acting alone. He has partners, people in places you can't reach. Why tell me this? Because they're coming for you. Tonight. The line went dead. McKenna looked at Dorian. We need to move. Where? Somewhere safe. But before they could pack, the lights went out. The entire hotel plunged into darkness. McKenna's pulse spiked. Dorian. A crash. The door splintering. Footsteps. Multiple. Fast. Dorian grabbed her hand. Window. Now. They ran. But when they reached it, a figure stood outside, on the fire escape, blocking their exit. McKenna's breath caught. The figure stepped into view, and she froze. It was Elena, standing there, gun in hand, pointed directly at McKenna. I told you, Elena said calmly. If you wouldn't give me what's mine, I'd take it. McKenna's world tilted. You're working with Gideon. Elena smiled, cold, empty. No, darling, Gideon's working with me. He always has been. Behind them, the door burst open. Men in masks flooded in. McKenna and Dorian were surrounded. No escape, no options. Elena stepped closer. You should have signed the papers, McKenna. Now it's too late. She raised the gun, and McKenna realized her real mother wasn't trying to protect her. She was trying to kill her, and this time, there was no one left to save her. Elena pulled the trigger. The shot echoed through the room, but McKenna didn't fall. Dorian had tackled her, shielded her. The bullet hit the wall. Chaos erupted. The masked men moved forward, but before they could reach them, the windows shattered, glass exploding inward. Armed federal agents rappelled down, voices shouting, FBI, drop your weapons. Elena's face went white. The masked men scattered, but there was nowhere to go. Within seconds, they were surrounded. Elena dropped the gun, raised her hands, but her eyes never left McKenna. This isn't over, she hissed. An agent grabbed her. Elena Vale, you're under arrest for attempted murder, conspiracy, and fraud. They dragged her away, still screaming, still threatening, until her voice finally faded. McKenna sat on the floor, shaking, Dorian beside her. An agent approached. Miss Carter, are you hurt? McKenna shook her head. How did you? Anonymous. Tip, the agent said. Someone sent us Elena's location, audio recordings, everything we needed. McKenna's mind raced. Who? The agent pulled out his phone, showed her a message. Elena Vale is at the Meridian Hotel, room 1847. She's armed. Protect Makina Carter. The sender? Unknown. But Makina knew. Someone had been watching. Someone had protected her. Someone she'd never meet. The agent helped her up. We'll need your statement. But for now, you're safe. Makina nodded. Dorian took her hand. Let's go home. 6 weeks later. Makina stood in what used to be Dorian's private suite. No tray in her hands, no uniform, no fear. Just her. The city glowed beyond the windows. Distant but no longer uncaring. Now it felt like hers. The door opened. Dorian entered. He stopped when he saw her, smiled. "You're in my room," he said. The same words. But everything had changed. Makina turned, smiled back. "Our room." Dorian stepped closer. "And you think I don't want you?" Makina's heart swelled. "I think you've wanted me long before I knew who I was." Dorian reached her, pulled her close. "You're right." They stood at the window together, looking out at the city. "Gideon's trial starts next week," Dorian said. "I know." "And Elena's?" "Same." Silence, comfortable, safe. "Are you ready?" Dorian asked. Makina nodded. "I've been ready my whole life." She leaned into him. "What about you? What happens to you now?" Dorian's voice was quiet. "I stay. With you. If you'll have me." Makina looked up at him. "Always." They kissed. Soft. Certain. And when they pulled apart, Makina looked back at the city. She wasn't invisible anymore. She wasn't the maid. She wasn't even just the heir. She was Makina Carter, the woman who'd walked into hell and walked back out. The woman who'd refused to let anyone else define her worth. The woman who'd changed everything by simply refusing to disappear. "What are you thinking?" Dorian asked. Makina smiled. "I'm thinking about my mother. Both of them." Dorian squeezed her hand. "Althea would be proud." "I know," Makina whispered. "And Elena is facing justice," Dorian finished. Makina nodded. "It's enough." They stood there. Two people who'd survived the impossible, who'd found each other in the wreckage, who'd built something real from the lies. "I love you," Dorian said quietly. Makina's breath caught. "I love you too." And for the first time in her life, Makina felt free. Weeks turned to months. The trials concluded. Gideon. Life in prison. Elena. 25 years. Vale Industries restructured. Makina as CEO. Dorian as COO. A partnership built on trust, on truth, on love. The media moved on. New scandals. New stories. But Makina's legacy remained. The girl who'd started as a maid and ended as a queen. Not because someone gave her power, but because she took it back. One night, Makina stood at Althea's grave, flowers in hand. "I did it, Mom," she whispered. "I finished what you started." The wind rustled the leaves, like an answer, like approval. Makina placed the flowers down. "Thank you. For everything." She turned to leave, but something caught her eye. A new headstone, beside Althea's, fresh, recent. She approached, read the inscription. Elena Vale Mother, manipulator, gone but not forgiven. Makina's chest tightened. Elena had died in prison, heart attack, 3 days ago, and Makina hadn't known. She stared at the grave, feeling nothing, no grief, no relief, just closure. "You lost," Makina said quietly, "and I won. Not because I was smarter or stronger, but because I refused to become you." She turned away, walked back to where Dorian waited. "You okay?" he asked. Makina nodded. "Yeah, I am." They drove home, to the life they'd built, to the future they'd earned. And as the city lights blurred past, Makina realized something. She hadn't just reclaimed an empire. She'd reclaimed herself. And that was worth more than any fortune. Some stories deserve to be told, Not because they're perfect, but because they remind us what we're capable of. Don't let this one fade. Share it if it meant something. Makina Carter didn't change the world the day she learned the truth. She changed it the moment she refused to let anyone else decide her worth. And in the end, that was the only victory that mattered. The end. But in a dark corner of the city, a phone rang. A voice answered. Is it done? Pause. Good. Phase 3 can begin. The line went dead, and somewhere in the shadows, someone smiled. Because the Veil Empire's story, it wasn't over yet.